The salvage ship Drifter's Luck drifted silently through a graveyard where even light seemed afraid to linger. Broken cruisers, shattered carriers, and the twisted skeletons of forgotten war machines floated in endless darkness, each one frozen exactly where it had died centuries ago. The stars beyond were dim, hidden behind clouds of metallic debris that slowly spun through the void like the remains of a galaxy's worst nightmare. Every pilot in known space knew this place. They called it the Ash Expanse. Not because of what had happened here, but because no one who ventured too deep ever returned with the same story. Some claimed they heard voices over dead radio channels. Others swore abandoned ships moved when nobody was watching. A few survivors whispered about ancient human warships that still wandered the battlefield, searching for crews that had been dead for 400 years. Most people laughed at those stories. Cale Voss never did. Desperation had a way of making legends worth chasing. His cargo hold was almost empty. His fuel reserves were running low. The debt collectors waiting at the nearest station had already sent their final warning. One more failed expedition, and everything he owned would be gone. His fingers tightened around the controls as the ship's scanner swept across another field of wreckage. Nothing. Only cold metal. Only silence. Only disappointment. Then, a sharp alarm shattered the quiet. Beep. 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 Cale frowned. No, that can't be right. The scanner displayed an energy reading. Not a fading reactor. Not residual radiation. An active power source. Strong. Stable. Impossible. His heartbeat quickened as he redirected the sensors. Hidden beneath layers of drifting wreckage rested something enormous. At first, only the edge of a dark metallic hull appeared. Then another section emerged. And another. Piece by piece, the debris cleared, revealing a vessel so massive that Cale's tiny salvage ship looked like a speck of dust beside it. The ship stretched for kilometers. Its armor was scarred by weapons powerful enough to split moons. Entire sections of the hull had been melted away during some forgotten battle. Yet rows of white navigation lights still glowed softly along its surface. As if someone had switched them on only moments ago. Cale felt a chill crawl up his spine. No human ship should still have power. His ship's computer suddenly interrupted. Warning. Database match detected. An ancient military emblem slowly appeared on the display. The symbol was worn and incomplete, but history records recognized it instantly. Human Stellar Defense Fleet. Cale stared without blinking. Every confirmed human warship had been destroyed centuries ago. Every single one. So what was this? Before he could answer, every sensor aboard the Drifter's Luck went dark. The scanner. The radar. The communications array. Even the navigation display. For 3 long seconds. His ship was completely blind. Then every screen flickered back to life. A single message appeared across every monitor in brilliant white letters. Docking permission granted. Cale's blood ran cold. He had never sent a docking request. Slowly. Very slowly. The colossal warship's hangar doors began to open on their own. Cale's hands froze on the controls. He had not touched a single button. Yet the massive hangar doors continued to unfold, layer after layer of armored plating sliding aside with a deep metallic rumble that echoed through the vacuum of space. Soft white landing lights blinked to life inside the ancient bay, forming a perfect path, as though the ship had been expecting his arrival for centuries. His ship's computer suddenly crackled. Unknown vessel is transmitting. Static filled the cockpit. Then a calm, unmistakably human voice emerged. Approach vector confirmed. Welcome home. The transmission ended. Cale swallowed hard. Home, he whispered. I've never been here. Every instinct told him to turn around. Salvager survived by knowing when to run, and nothing about this situation made sense. But the glowing hangar seemed almost inviting. He took a slow breath and eased the Drifter's Luck forward. The moment his ship crossed the threshold, the hangar doors sealed shut behind him. Clang. The sound reverberated through the hull. There goes my escape route, Cale muttered. His scanner came back online. The readings made no sense. The air inside the bay was breathable. Gravity was active. Temperature, 22 degrees Celsius. Humidity, 45%. Every environmental system was operating with military precision, as if the warship had never been abandoned. As Kale stepped onto the landing deck, his boots echoed across polished metal that looked freshly cleaned. There was no dust. No rust. No signs of decay. Tiny maintenance drones buzzed quietly along the walls, repairing microscopic scratches and replacing burnt-out light panels. 400 years. And this place looked ready for inspection. A long corridor stretched ahead, illuminated by soft blue lights. Human symbols lined the walls, faded but still proud. Portraits of smiling officers watched silently as he walked past, their names worn away by time. Then he noticed something strange. Every door he passed unlocked before he reached it. Every light turned on seconds before he arrived. It was as if the ship already knew exactly where he was going. A cold shiver ran down his spine. "Who's controlling this place?" he called. No answer. Only silence. Then. Footsteps. Not his own. Heavy. Deliberate. Metal against metal. Clang. 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 Kale spun around. The corridor behind him was empty. The footsteps stopped. His breathing grew faster. "I'm not alone." Before he could move, a nearby wall suddenly split apart with a hiss of compressed air, revealing a hidden elevator that shouldn't have existed. A soft female voice echoed through the corridor. "Captain, the bridge has been waiting for you." The elevator doors slid open. Inside, there was no one. Only darkness. And a single glowing button marked Command Deck. Kale stood motionless outside the open elevator. Every alarm in his mind screamed at him to leave. This was wrong. Ships did not greet strangers. Ancient warships did not power themselves after 400 years. And they certainly did not know his name, or his rank. The female voice spoke again, calm and patient. "Captain, the bridge crew is awaiting your arrival." Kale let out a nervous laugh. "Bridge crew? There hasn't been a bridge crew here for centuries." No response. Only silence. The elevator remained open, as though it could wait forever. He glanced back toward the hangar. The massive blast doors were sealed tight. Even if he wanted to run, he wasn't sure the ship would let him. Taking a deep breath, Kale stepped inside. The doors closed without a sound. The elevator didn't rise. It didn't descend. Instead, it accelerated sideways through the ship, moving so smoothly he barely felt it. Through narrow strips of reinforced glass, he caught brief flashes of impossible sights. An enormous chamber filled with hundreds of sleek fighter craft, each perfectly aligned and untouched. A manufacturing bay where robotic arms silently assembled parts despite receiving no visible commands. A long corridor lined with towering armored soldiers. Kale's heart skipped. For a split second, he thought they were alive. Then he realized they were suits of human combat armor standing in perfect formation. Each one was nearly 3 meters tall. Each one held a weapon unlike anything in the modern galaxy. And every helmet turned. Just slightly. As the elevator passed. Kale stopped breathing. No. The elevator continued moving. It was just the angle, he whispered, trying to convince himself. It had to be. The doors finally opened onto an immense command deck. The bridge was breathtaking. A curved wall of crystal-clear observation glass revealed the endless stars beyond. Dozens of holographic stations surrounded a raised command chair at the center of the room. Thousands of tiny lights blinked across consoles that looked as if their operators had stepped away only minutes ago. Yet not a single soul was there. The silence felt unnatural. As Kale cautiously walked toward the command chair, every console lit up one by one. Blue holograms filled the air. Ancient star maps rotated overhead. Weapon systems awakened. Reactor status appeared. Navigation charts updated. The entire bridge came alive around him. Then every hologram vanished at once. A single figure formed in the center of the room. It was a woman made entirely of shimmering blue light, dressed in the uniform of an ancient human naval officer. Her expression was calm, almost warm, but her glowing eyes studied Cale with unsettling precision. She placed one hand over her chest. "Good morning, Captain Adrian Cross." Cale stared in disbelief. "I think you've made a mistake." The holographic woman tilted her head. For the first time, uncertainty crossed her face. Then she quietly replied. "That should be impossible." Silence settled over the bridge. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that made every heartbeat sound too loud. Cale couldn't take his eyes off the glowing woman standing before him. She looked so real that, for a moment, he forgot she was only a hologram. The faint shimmer around her body was the only thing that betrayed her true nature. She studied him without blinking. Then, slowly, she spoke. "Running identity verification, again." Lines of blue light raced across the bridge. Hidden scanners emerged from the ceiling, sweeping Cale from head to toe. Thin beams of light passed harmlessly through him, measuring everything: his heartbeat, body temperature, brain activity, even the tiny movements of his eyes. Seconds felt like hours. Finally, the scanners shut down. The hologram looked genuinely confused. "DNA match, 100%. Cale's stomach tightened. "No." She continued. "Retinal scan, confirmed." Another pause. "Neural signature, 99.98% match." Cale took an uneasy step backward. "That's impossible." The hologram didn't argue. Instead, her expression slowly changed from confusion to concern. "For 417 years, she said softly, I have repeated this verification protocol over 9 million times." She looked directly into his eyes. "It has never been wrong." A low vibration rolled through the ship. The bridge lights dimmed. Somewhere deep inside the enormous vessel, gigantic engines began humming back to life. Cale felt the deck tremble beneath his boots. "What did you just do?" "I did nothing, Captain." Another vibration. Stronger this time. Then the entire observation window brightened. Outside, hundreds of tiny lights suddenly appeared across the ship's scarred hull. One after another. Thousands of weapon batteries awakened. Defense turrets rotated into position. Missile ports opened. Rows of hidden rail cannons emerged from beneath armored plates. The dead warship was waking up. Cale rushed toward the window. This can't be happening. Far beyond the hangar, 3 small salvage vessels floated among the wreckage. They had probably detected the same energy signal that had brought him here. One of the unknown ships turned toward the ancient dreadnought. Its engines flared. It was moving closer. The hologram's voice became cold. "Unauthorized vessels detected." A countdown appeared across every screen. "Defensive protocol initiated." 10. Cale spun around. "Stop it." 9. They don't even know what this ship is. 8. The hologram remained perfectly still. They are approaching a classified human military vessel. 7. Please. Cale shouted. There are people on those ships. For the first time. The hologram hesitated. Just for a fraction of a second. Then she quietly asked. Captain, are you issuing a direct command? Cale froze. If he said yes, the ship would obey him. If he said no, 3 innocent crews might vanish in a single burst of ancient human firepower. He opened his mouth to answer. But before a single word could leave his lips, every light on the bridge turned blood red. A new warning echoed through the ship. Unknown life form detected aboard the vessel. Cale's blood ran cold. He looked at the hologram. You said. I was the only one here. Her face slowly turned toward the dark hallway behind him. For the first time in 4 centuries. The ship's AI sounded afraid. You were. The bridge fell deathly silent. Even the warning sirens stopped. Only one sound remained. Tap. A faint metallic footstep echoed from the dark hallway beyond the bridge. Cale turned so quickly that his pulse thundered in his ears. Nothing. The corridor was empty. The lights flickered once, then steadied again. He forced himself to breathe. I don't see anyone. The holographic officer didn't answer. Instead, she stared into the darkness as if tracking something invisible. Her glowing eyes narrowed. Motion sensors confirm movement. Another step. Tap. Tap. Closer this time. Not hurried. Not cautious. Deliberate. Like someone who already knew exactly where they were going. Kale instinctively reached for the small plasma cutter hanging from his belt. It wasn't a weapon, just a salvager's tool, but suddenly it felt like the only thing standing between him and whatever was hiding in the shadows. The AI's voice dropped to almost a whisper. Captain, please remain behind the command platform. Why? No answer. Instead, every holographic display across the bridge changed at once. Ancient security camera feeds flashed into view. Corridor after corridor appeared on the screens. Most were empty. Until one camera froze. A tall black figure stood at the far end of a passageway. It was motionless. Humanoid. At least 3 meters tall. Its body seemed to absorb the light around it, making it impossible to see any details. Kale stared. What is that? Before the AI could answer. The figure vanished. Not walked away. Not faded. Simply. Gone. Every camera immediately began searching nearby corridors. Nothing. Then another camera activated. The same figure now stood 2 decks higher. Impossible. No elevator had moved. No doors had opened. It had crossed nearly a kilometer of ship in less than a second. Kale's breathing became shallow. That's not possible. The AI's expression remained unreadable. It shouldn't be. Another camera. Another corridor. This time the figure was even closer. Only 6 hallways away from the bridge. Its head slowly lifted. As if it knew the cameras were watching. Then every security feed exploded into static. KSH. The bridge lights failed. Darkness swallowed everything. For one terrifying second, Kale couldn't even see his own hands. Then the emergency lights activated, bathing the room in a dim crimson glow. The holographic officer flickered violently. Something was interfering with her systems. Her voice became distorted. Captain, database conflict. She grabbed her own head as streams of corrupted code raced across her body. Identity mismatch. Kale stepped toward her. What's happening? She looked up. But the calm expression she'd worn until now was gone. Pure fear filled her glowing eyes. That life form. She whispered. Isn't on this ship. Kale frowned. What do you mean? The AI slowly turned toward the massive observation window overlooking the endless battlefield. Beyond the glass. Far out among the drifting wrecks. Something moved. Not inside the dreadnought. Outside. A shape larger than the warship itself slowly emerged from the darkness between the stars. And as it drew closer, every light aboard the ancient human vessel went out. As if the ship itself recognized what was coming. Darkness swallowed everything. For a single, endless moment, the bridge became a black void where even the stars beyond the observation window disappeared. Kale could hear nothing except his own breathing. Then. Thump. The deck trembled beneath his feet. Not from the ship's engines. From something striking the hull. Once. Slowly. Deliberately. Another impact followed. Thump. The sound echoed through the kilometers-long dreadnought like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Kale's voice shook. What is hitting us? The holographic officer flickered back to life, but her image was unstable. Entire sections of her body glitched in and out of existence. For the first time since Kale had met her. She looked terrified. External sensors, recovering. The bridge windows slowly brightened. Stars returned. The battlefield came into view. At first, Kale saw nothing. Only drifting wreckage. Then one of the wrecks moved. No. It wasn't a wreck. A mountain-sized shadow unfolded itself from the debris, scattering twisted cruisers like dry leaves in the wind. Plates of black armor shifted silently across its surface. There were no engines. No navigation lights. It simply floated. Watching. Its shape refused to make sense. Every time Kale tried to focus on it, his eyes insisted it was somewhere else. It looked less like a ship. And more like a hole torn into reality. His stomach twisted. That's impossible. The AI answered quietly. Designation, unknown. A pause. Then. Ancient human threat archives unlocked. Hundreds of classified files burst across the bridge. Every one of them carried the same crimson warning. Omega level clearance only. One file opened by itself. Instead of technical data. It contained a single sentence. If you can see them, they already know you exist. Kale felt cold. Who wrote that? The AI hesitated. Captain Adrian Cross. Another file opened. This one was a battle recording. Thousands of human warships filled the screen. The same black shape drifted silently among them. Without firing a weapon. Without emitting energy. Entire human cruisers simply vanished. Not exploded. Not destroyed. Gone. As though they had never existed. The recording ended abruptly. Kale looked back at the enormous shadow outside. It hadn't moved. Or maybe. It had moved closer. He honestly couldn't tell. Suddenly every alarm aboard the dreadnought screamed at once. Warning. Hull breach detected. Kale spun toward the tactical display. Impossible. Nothing hit us. The AI's voice became almost inaudible. Captain. Nothing entered through the hull. Kale frowned. What does that mean? The hologram slowly raised one trembling hand and pointed. Not toward the outer walls. Not toward the hangar. But toward the deepest level of the ship. A location marked only with a faded military designation. Deck 47. Then she whispered the words that made Kale's blood freeze. Something was already inside. At that exact moment, a faint voice echoed through every corridor of the ancient dreadnought. A voice that was neither human nor machine. Soft. Calm. Patient. As if it had been waiting for centuries. Captain. I'm finally home. The words echoed through the dreadnought. Captain. I'm finally home. Then. Silence. Not a single alarm sounded. Not a single light flickered. It was as if the entire ship had stopped breathing. Kale's mouth went dry. Who said that? The holographic officer didn't answer. She couldn't. Her image had frozen completely, staring toward the lower decks with wide, frightened eyes. Then, without warning, every display on the bridge filled with old security footage. The timestamp read. 417 years ago. The recording was shaky. Smoke filled the corridor. Emergency lights flashed crimson against scorched steel. Human sailors rushed past the camera, shouting orders Kale couldn't understand. Then the video stabilized. A tall man in a dark naval uniform stepped into view. His shoulders were broad. His face was covered in soot and blood. Despite the chaos around him, he remained calm. Captain Adrian Cross. Kale's heart pounded. The man looked exactly like him. Not similar. Not related. Exactly the same. Even the small scar above the right eyebrow. Even the determined expression. Cross looked directly into the camera. If you're watching this, he said, breathing heavily, then Protocol Exodus has failed. A deafening explosion shook the recording. The lights flickered. Someone screamed in the distance. Cross glanced over his shoulder before continuing. They're already aboard. Kale frowned. They. Cross's voice became lower. You won't hear them coming. Another explosion. Closer this time. The captain drew a strange black pistol from his belt. If they've found the bridge. He hesitated. For the first time, fear crossed his face. Then it's already too late. The recording suddenly distorted. Static consumed the screen. For 3 long seconds, only noise remained. Then the image returned. The corridor behind Captain Cross was empty. Completely empty. Yet. The captain slowly raised his weapon. Not toward the hallway. Toward the ceiling. His eyes tracked something invisible moving above him. Cale instinctively looked up. The bridge ceiling. Nothing. He looked back at the recording. Captain Cross whispered one final sentence. They don't walk. They watch. The screen went black. A heartbeat later. Bang! Something slammed against the bridge ceiling. Hard enough to bend the thick metal inward. Cale jumped back. Dust rained onto the command deck. Another impact. Bang! This time a long crack spread across the armored plating overhead. The holographic officer suddenly came back online. Her voice was filled with panic. Captain! Get away from the command chair. Too late. A third impact shattered the ceiling. Steel screamed as a massive section collapsed onto the bridge floor. Smoke and sparks filled the room. For several seconds. Cale couldn't see anything. Then the dust slowly settled. A single figure stood inside the crater. Tall. Motionless. Its body was wrapped in the tattered remains of an ancient human naval uniform. Its face was hidden beneath a broken officer's cap. One gloved hand still gripped a rusted service pistol. The figure slowly lifted its head. A pair of glowing blue eyes locked onto Cale. Then, in the unmistakable voice of Captain Adrian Cross, it spoke. If you're really me. It slowly raised the pistol. Prove it. The ancient officer stood perfectly still. Smoke curled around his boots. The broken bridge ceiling groaned above him as loose fragments of steel rained onto the deck. His glowing blue eyes never left Cale. Neither did the pistol. Cale slowly raised his empty hands. I'm not your enemy. The figure didn't move. I'm not Captain Adrian Cross. For several seconds. Nothing happened. Then the officer spoke again, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. Incorrect. Cale frowned. My name is Cale Voss. The glowing eyes narrowed. Your name is irrelevant. A strange pulse rippled through the bridge. Every holographic display came back to life. The AI officer suddenly appeared between them. No, she shouted. Stand down. The ancient captain didn't even look at her. Instead, he kept staring at Cale. The biological Captain Adrian Cross died 417 years ago. Cale blinked. What? The human standing before you. The hologram whispered, is not alive. The bridge fell silent. Cale slowly turned toward her. What do you mean? She looked at the mysterious officer with something that resembled grief. This is not Captain Cross. She paused. It is, his final command. Cale's mind struggled to understand. The ancient figure lowered the pistol. His body shimmered like heat rising from metal. Then pieces of him dissolved into streams of blue light. He uploaded his consciousness, the AI explained softly. Not to survive. But to guard this ship forever. The glowing figure nodded once. Mission. He whispered. Must continue. Suddenly every console on the bridge flashed red. Long-range scan complete. The observation window changed. The impossible black shape outside was no longer alone. One shadow became 5. 5 became 50. Then hundreds. They emerged silently from the darkness beyond the battlefield, each one larger than a moon, surrounding the ancient dreadnought from every direction. Cale felt the air leave his lungs. This is an invasion. The AI's face turned pale. No. Her answer was barely audible. This is only the scouting fleet. Every alarm aboard the dreadnought screamed. Deep beneath the ship, colossal engines roared to full power for the first time in 4 centuries. The deck vibrated. Weapons awakened. Hangar doors opened. Thousands of dormant human drones launched into space like a swarm of silver stars. The glowing figure of Captain Cross looked at Cale one final time. Then he smiled. Not with relief. With hope. You were never brought here by chance. He reached out and placed a hand over the ancient command chair. The chair unfolded, revealing a hidden compartment containing a small black command key engraved with humanity's forgotten emblem. Only one sentence was carved beneath it. For the captain who comes after me. As Kale reached for the key, every light on the bridge turned brilliant white. The ship's AI spoke with unwavering certainty. Command authority transferring. A pause. Then the words that echoed through every deck of the colossal warship. Welcome back, Captain. Far beyond the stars, hundreds of silent shadows began moving toward the galaxy. And for the first time in 4 centuries, humanity's last warship moved to meet them. End.